Hi, my name is Nadia Garzone, and today my speech will be on the importance of gun rights and gun policy reform. Every time we turn on the news, it feels like we are confronted with another heartbreaking headline about gun violence in America. Although for many, the gut reaction is often to ban all firearms, but America must instead have gun policy reform to make sure the Second Amendment is respected while making sure guns do not fall in the hands of the wrong people. Firearms should not be banned because they are legally protected under the Second Amendment, which carries long-standing historical, political, and cultural importance in America. The book analysis article, The Right to Bear Arms, by Audrey D. Klein goes over the author Holbrook's important history of gun rights from medieval England until today. Holbrook argues that in colonial times, carrying a gun, either concealed or opened, was the norm, and often a requirement when facing the growing hostility from the English, culminating with the American Revolution. The right to bear arms and their use in ensuring our independence from the tyranny of England became legally protected in the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. James Madison, a founding father, argued that a free society relies on the general population holding power, staying informed, and remaining armed to prevent a small group from taking over, which 250 years later is still a core unalienable right we hold to be true. Unlike the colonial times, nowadays there is intense debate about gun rights and their role in America's tragic gun violence problem. The heartbreaking headlines of gun violence has on one end of the debate called for banning all guns, and on the other side is increasing the sale of guns. Both positions are for the same reason. How do we protect ourselves and our loved ones?
If I had to, I want to be responsible. I want to know how to do it. I think it's being afraid. It's the attacks in Paris, San Bernardino, the school shootings. We as citizens need to take the right that we have to own a gun seriously.
A 2016 New York Times interview on why people own guns in New Hampshire asked gun rights supporters, both seasoned and new shooters, about why they take the right to own a gun seriously. The fear that is evoked by the threat of gun violence is the same for both gun right advocates and gun banners. However, gun right advocates' fear of gun violence is now coupled with fear of loss of freedoms with the calls for the government to ban guns. How do we find a middle ground in such a polarized debate? The fact is, America faces a gun problem unlike any other in the world. Although the actual crime rate is comparable or lower than other First Nation countries, Lowy from the Harvard Journal of Law and Public Policy claims the gun homicide rate in the United States is 25 times higher than in other high-income nations, and Americans are often 50 times more likely to die from a gun than in other high-income than those in the United Kingdom. The shocking gun violence problem in America is not because we have more crime or because of our mental illness crisis. Dr. Swanson, a professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences at Duke University, remarks factors linked to a propensity for violence include youth and the male sex, poverty, exposure to violence, abuse as a child, and substance abuse. These factors, combined with relaxed gun laws, explain the constant tragedies we experience in our communities every day. To protect our Second Amendment right to bear arms, while also addressing our gun violence problem, we must introduce gun policy reform that meet in the middle with law-abiding gun owners, but do not allow criminals to have access. Dr. Swanson argues to base gun policy reforms on dangerous, violent behaviors happening right now, not on mental illness and treatment history. To not just block dangerous people from buying new guns, but have a plan to remove guns they already own. To give people proper legal due process before taking away their gun rights. And finally, combine background checks with real investments in mental health, addiction treatment, and community support. In the New York Times video, most Americans want more gun control. Why doesn't it matter? They analyzed polls showing strong support for stricter gun laws.
Polls show that NRA members do support some gun control policies, like outlawing sales to the mentally ill and people on terror watch lists. Most also favor universal background checks.
As proven in the video, Americans, whether for like the NRA members or against guns, actually do want some form of gun policy reforms.
Polls
To conclude, keeping in mind our history with the Second Amendment and the current ongoing debate around gun rights, we must keep in mind the most rational way in aiding our gun violence problem is by gun policy reforms. By honoring our right to bear arms and the right to life with gun policy reforms, we can reduce the 100 people shot and killed by a gun in America every day. So that one day we don't have to see a heartbreaking tragedy every day at the hands of a gun on our screens anymore. Thank you for listening to my speech.